looks like we lost again.
Oh, this season.
All right, but before we get into all that, welcome to another season of, or not season, another episode of Days of Our Sooners, where we talk about the never-ending soap opera that is Oklahoma Sooners football. I'm Britton, and I'm here with my dad and OU sports aficionado, Todd Summers. How you doing, Dad?
Doing good, Brett. Hello, fans.
Man. Well, at least we didn't get blown out 49-0.
That's true. I guess there's always a silver lining, Brett.
Yeah. Still a letdown, though.
Yeah.
I thought we were out of the dark age, and I'll admit this was you could say, a more honorable loss than some of the other losses we've had this season, but still sucks, though.
Yeah, always hurts to lose at home. Lose 2 years in a row to Baylor. That's unheard of. Thought we were coming, turning a corner, defensively possibly, but I was obviously wrong about that.
Still some flaws, I think.
Same mistakes as we've seen in previous weeks. Just a little soft, front seven. Linemen and linebackers just not getting it done. They went for it on 4th and 1 from their own 29-yard line. That tells you what the league thinks about the OU defense.
Yeah, we're back in the Lincoln Riley era.
Yeah, we are. So,
but that's not what I wanted to say. I'm still pulling for Brent Venables, but
oh yeah,
come on, boys.
I think he's going to turn it around, but it's not going to be this year, obviously. So, all in all, it was a fun game to watch. We couldn't get over the hump. We kept
shooting ourselves in the
foot. Couldn't gain any sustained momentum. We would get close. We would hold them. You'd think we were going to get over the hump, and we wouldn't. We would make a mistake. So, just all in all, just not a good game.
Yeah, no. Maybe it's just me looking on the brighter side, but, I guess this was better than getting 49-0.
Well, I guess you can look at it that way, but I look at it as we lost to Baylor.
Hey, Baylor is not terrible, but I get what you mean.
They're not great this year, so.
Well, now they're 6-3, but.
I don't think they're going to win the Big 12. They might climb back in it and beat TCU.
I think TCU's gonna. I think TCU's gonna take it this year.
Yeah, we'll see this week. They're gonna have a tough game this week against Texas at Texas. So we'll see this week.
Yeah, but what were your general thoughts about the game?
General thoughts. Not complimentary football, meaning our offense would do well and then our defense wouldn't do well, or our defense would do well and then our offense wouldn't do well.
Yeah, it's just like, where have I seen this before?
Yeah, we just couldn't put it together.
It's like Lincoln Riley all over again. Yeah. Couldn't get the team. I guess they I don't know what happened. I guess they're like, this Lincoln Riley guy, he had the right idea. Well, I guess I can't blame it all on Lincoln Riley, but No. Still, just come on, guys. You could do better. We did do better. I think. I think we lost a more clean battle, but again, we just made mistakes that killed us.
Well, Lincoln Riley's philosophy was, I'm going to score more points than you. I don't really care about the defense. We're just going to score every time on offense. This offense is capable of doing that, but not when you have 3 turnovers in the first half that give Baylor the ball on the OU side of the field to start their drives off, so it's not going to happen that way.
I think the best way to describe our team this year is inconsistent.
Very inconsistent.
It's like we'll play really good in some games, and then we'll not play so great.
Right, just inconsistent.
And this whole game was just kind of the whole gist of this year. Just great moments, then what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah. There were times when it looked like, we knew exactly what we were doing, and then there were times when it looked like we were just the same old team that lost to Kansas State and to Texas badly. So
I don't think we were the team who... I've said this, and I maintain this. I think if we had Gabriel in the game against Texas, I think it would have been... I don't know if we would have won, but I think it would have been a more, what's the word I'm looking for? A game?
Competitive?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Gabriel would at least try, like put the effort in. I don't think he'd just lay down and die like our old pal Davis. Which they're like, why don't they give everyone else a try? I'm like, did you see OU Texas this year?
Yeah.
No, don't give the backups a try.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel's flawed, but he is the best quarterback we got right now.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, let's jump right in on the offense, Brett. What did you think about our offensive performance? We scored 35 points, not bad.
Yeah, not terrible, They held us to 35, so, I mean, hey, we were doing something right, but kept making mistakes, man.
Yeah, rushed for 250 yards, that's good.
Yeah, Eric Gray was killing it out there. He was just,
He's been a pro this year. He's, a lot better than I thought he was, especially seeing him last year. Kennedy Brooks was obviously much better last year than Gray. But this year, Gray has got the moves. He's got the power. He's just an all-around great back. And
he's a speedy guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a chance in the NFL. So he's done a great job, and he's really been the bright spot of the whole team in sense of where he was last year and then where he is this year. What'd you think about the 3 interceptions?
Oh God, that
just
sucked.
Killers.
I think that killed the game for us. Really,
it did.
Poor Gabriel. I mean, the first 2 weren't his fault. Really, it was just he was covered, and then that third one was. It's just like, Lord, and I think Gabriel at his best, he's really good at picking apart the defenses. Against Kansas, he did it. Against Iowa State, he was pretty good with that. Mm-hmm. And in this, again, he kind of reminds me of Landry. He could be good, and then he can just kind of die.
The key to Gabriel, he's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not Murray. He's not Baker. He's not big game. Obviously, we've mentioned that in previous episodes. But the thing he's good at is protecting the ball. And when he loses that, he's definitely below average. And
exactly. It's like he's good at not giving the ball to the other team.
Yeah, and so when
he did it 3 times, we're like, dude, you're supposed to be good at not doing that.
And then when you give the ball to the other team, and then our defense is already a fragile state, they're not going to come together like the old defenses of the Bob Stoops early era or the Barry Switzer defenses of the 80s and even 70s. We've got a fragile mind on that defensive side,
and the defense is still inconsistent. They've either been really strong or non-existent.
Yeah, we can't expect a defense with that kind of fragile mind to hold an offense to a field goal when they get the ball at the 25-yard line. They did hold them to a field goal after the second interception, and then we had an interception. And then you think, okay, we've got some momentum, and then Gabriel throws his third interception right back to him. So, they start getting demoralized, and then in the end, the defense just couldn't make the stops. But so the 3 interceptions I thought were killers. 250 yards rushing by that OU backfield. OU offensive line, I think, is doing a lot better job. 250 yards. That's a great.
I thought you were talking about Squirrel.
That's a great outing. We'll talk about Squirrel in a moment. And then I was glad to see Marvin Mims back. Had that long touchdown pass.
Yes. He was like, finally, Marvin, you're back, baby.
And then on one of the interceptions, Marvin was running wide open again. I saw the replay of it. Marvin was running wide open again, and Gabriel threw it to the wrong guy. He got tipped and then intercepted. So
I don't know what it is with Gabriel. My thing is that he has a habit of overthrowing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's I don't know if he just cracks under pressure or if he, when he's under pressure, I don't know if he cracks or I don't know what his issue is. But
first half
he certainly has flaws that are exploitable. He's not a Caleb Williams,
No.
Caleb Williams' problem is he just held on to the ball way too damn long.
Yeah. Now, in the first half, he was definitely overthrowing guys. We saw some of that same thing. I think I commented during the game. He's doing it again. He's overthrowing these guys. And then that leads to 3 interceptions. Yeah, they were tipped balls, but they were high. The one to Braden Willis where he got a hand on it, it was over his head, and then it gets tipped. And then the one that was intercepted, the third interception, overthrown and goes right into the Baylor safety's hands. So.
Can I just mention how the production was awful?
My gosh!
You want to, I take a media production class, and I have some moderate editing skills, and I was just thinking, I'm like, oh my lord, if my media production teacher watched this, he would just be cringing right now.
The camera work was pitiful.
The lady was trying way too hard to be Gus, and you're like, hey,
the announcers were pitiful.
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan
Leaf.
That's about a fourth teamer there. When you get Ryan Leaf on your broadcast, you know you're not having a good season. But the lady was pitiful. It was like she was cheering. Oh wow! Look at him go!
She was trying to be like Gus.
Mm-hmm. Not Gus. The camera work was pitiful. You couldn't even
you could hear audio. You could hear like mad or what is it they call it? They catch like the mic'd up on NFL. They were catching that from the audience of guys like, "Hey Gabriel, you like man?" And he just shake.
I liked that.
That was funny.
That was hilarious.
That was funny, but at the same time, I was kind of shaking my head like, have we literally come to this in one season?
That kid was the star of the whole broadcast.
Thank you, kid, if you ever watch this.
And then it seemed like they had the crowd noise turned way down, so it seemed like the crowd was non-existent. And when I heard, Venables talk on his coach's show, they talked about the crowd was really into it and loud. So could not tell that by the broadcast. It sounded like it was a Kansas game at Kansas when they aren't any good. Like nobody's in the stands. So horrible broadcast.
This was just not a fun week. I was like, oh man, Baylor, I'm expecting it to be a game, but I think we can pull it out, and then we lost.
Yeah.
But,
so
not TCU Texas levels, but
Also a weird start time at 2 p.m. You usually either see a 2:30, 11, a 2:30, or a 6:30, 7 o'clock start. 2 o'clock, kind of a weird start time off of the other games that were going on.
It was a weird game.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, that's what happens when you have a bad season and you get stuck on ESPN Plus.
Oh.
Don't suck, and then you won't have to deal with that. So
I'd say we've had an inconsistent season, but I'll give you that. We haven't been up to the standard, as they say. Not
up to Brent Venables' standard. Not up to the OU fan standard. How was Twitter world this week? By the way,
oh my gosh, Twitter was exploding.
Okay.
I was like later. I was like, oh god, I hate this fan base because I have a very vitriolic relationship with the OU fan base.
Yeah.
I love them, but I hate them, and just.
Then I heard in the recruiting that we've had a couple of decommits, so now some of our players that we were getting are seeing the fruits of our labor, and they're deciding
at all.
They're going somewhere else, it seems. So we'll see how that ends up. I don't ever trust the recruiting battles until they sign on the dotted line, so we'll see how it ends up. Maybe it won't be as bad as we think. Now, what about the defense? What stood out for the defense? Yeah,
we had some good stops there, but kept like the Lincoln Riley era again. They kept running fourth downs on us, kept getting them, and you're just like, God, guys, come on.
What happened to the days when it was fourth down on your own end of the football field and you punted the ball no matter what? I guess those days are gone, and we're into NCAA football, video game, go for it on fourth down no matter what. So.
It's. I remember one person saying everyone plays their best against us.
Yeah,
we are usually except Kansas.
We are other teams' Super Bowl, so and when you're down, that's when they want to get you. So
yeah,
so that makes sense.
Football's a ruthless, cutthroat sport.
Gave up 280 yards rushing, and they have a freshman running back that's really good at Baylor. That's who.
Oh my gosh, that guy tore us up.
That wasn't even Squirrel. That Squirrel's a junior. They have a freshman, the bigger guy, Reese.
Oh yeah.
He's the freshman, and that's who we thought would be our nemesis in this game. But we had a guy named Squirrel Williams.
His name was like Charles Williams or something. I don't know.
Squirrel. They didn't even spell Squirrel right. It was SQWIRRL.
Well, they kept calling him Squirrel. I'm like, is that like his actual name or is that like a nickname?
Yeah, it had to be.
Learned out it was a nickname, so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But God, that guy was like Breece Hall a few years ago. That guy was just a pain.
Couldn't stop him. Could not stop him. Now, our pass defense was pretty good. I think we held them to like 140, 150 yards passing. So,
I mean, under Grinch?
Under Grinch what?
Defense?
No, I'm talking about the passing game in this game.
Oh, I thought you said the pass game.
No, I'm sorry.
I misheard you.
So I think we did pretty good on our pass defense, but they didn't need to pass it because guess what? They were running it. Squirrel was running wild to run the ground, picking up nuts up the tree, having relations with his wife up in the tree, coming back down, getting another 8 yards. It was horrible. And then we had some costly penalties, some
knuckleheaded.
Ripping the helmet off.
2020 all over again.
Yeah. Bad penalties on defense. Gave them a drive with basic penalties.
Whole defense of bookies.
We're soft. Yeah, we're soft. So nothing good there. And then special teams, we had a missed 55-yard field goal.
That kid kicked it though. He gave it his all, man.
Yeah, it was windy, and that's another one of the penalties that killed us. We have it's late in the first half. Gabriel scrambles out, runs it down to inside the 10-yard line, and we get a hands to the face, backs us up 15 yards, puts us. Even if we get no gain there, we've got a 40-yard field goal that turns us into a 55-yard field goal. And then the wind, he had the leg for it, but the wind was blowing a little sideways, and it hooked out and then we lost by 3 points.
So, again, I perhaps I'm being too optimistic for my own good, as our number one fan, Uncle Ryan, likes to say. But, I think Bobby Bowden said this. I saw a quote from Bobby Bowden the other day. It's like, hey, you start out, you lose badly, and then you lose not so badly, and then you start winning, and then you start winning well.
Okay.
So, I'm hoping that's what'll happen, but, we'll see.
I like Bobby Bowden, so we'll go with that. So,
I'm really trying to pull for Brent Venables. Mm-hmm. Ryan's all like, do you think we should fire him yet? I'm like, no, it's just his first season. Like, at least give him like 2 or 3.
Well, I think he's got to, I don't know what's up with the defensive team. The schemes, I think are right.
I don't know if they're still like recovering from Grinch or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I've stopped trying to guess at this point.
But I think we got to give him a few years here to get his own players in here, install his scheme, get the players where they know exactly what to do, quit thinking. And they got to play and do and execute. You got to execute the plays that Venables has a scheme, and each guy has to do their job, or it all doesn't work together as a team.
I am glad though to see the more aggressive play calling, and that we're not starting slow like we were at the beginning of the season.
That's true. We have started out. We scored a touchdown first drive. That looked good.
So I think we have made some improvements, but there are still things to fix. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I agree. That reminds me, we scored a touchdown on the first drive. Way to go. We don't kick it through the end zone. We kick it to the 1-yard line or maybe a yard deep in the end zone. They run it out to the 38-yard line.
It's like Kansas State again.
Yeah, it changes the momentum of the game. They come right down and score, and now we have nothing. It's just going to be one of those games. So it was just one of those games. And once we had the interceptions and we got behind the 8 ball, we never could get back.
We never could fully recover from that.
We could not recover. We couldn't recover. So
I literally texted Ryan after the game was over. I'm like, don't even start, dude. He's like, oh, come on. It's just a game. I'm like, I know, but you just start railing and it gets me upset. So please stop. I'm like, don't. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
Then we proceeded to talk about the game for a little bit after that because, I don't know, we can't resist it.
Yeah. And, typical years I would be, highly upset and not feeling good the next day. But in a season like this, it's just you shake your head and move on. There's no reason to ruin my life over.
Look, we recover. Look, we just managed to recover from 49-0. Right. So we can't get any bad. It can't get any worse than that.
Yeah. So up next, we've got a West Virginia team that kind of mirrors Oklahoma. They've had some
inconsistent.
They beat Baylor at home. That's scary.
Not bad.
They got their butts kicked in Iowa State last week.
I think they also lost to Kansas.
I think they lost to Kansas. So who knows what's going to happen. Now, I think at home, they're a pretty good team. On the road, not as good. And guess what? We're in West Virginia.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now, the good thing about it is we have an 11 o'clock start time, which I know you hate that, and I don't like it either, but it won't allow those West Virginia hicks to get juiced on their moonshine prior to the game.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that their crowd will be a little hungover from the Friday night moonshine and won't be as rowdy as they typically are there in West Virginia. So we'll see how that goes.
Likely. Yeah, no, they're not terrible, but, I mean, they could go either way, really. I'm not going to try and predict too much.
They definitely have a great quarterback, or they have a good quarterback that played at Georgia, I believe, J.T. Daniels. He was there at Georgia and transferred to West Virginia.
They got their own big game, huh?
Yep, so they got their own big game. He was a 5-star recruit, so he can sling it around, and if we give him time in the pocket, then he can beat us. So we've got to get some pressure on him. We've got to get tougher on the defensive side.
Yeah, I know.
So who knows what's going to happen? I have no clue. I know
this has been a very unpredictable season.
Right.
I mean, look at OSU right now. I mean, we'll get to that later though.
Yeah. I know we need one win to get bowl eligible, and I'd like to get it this week and not sweat it out. So
yeah, I know.
I'm praying this is the week that we get bowl eligible and get that monkey off of our back, and then see if we can win the last two games.
Then we can rest easy after that.
Yeah. So looking forward to the game. I don't know what channel is that on, Fox, or what channel is that on? Do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah, could be a Fox production, could be a ESPN2. Who knows? Probably ESPN2. Based on how we've performed this year, but I know you and I will be tuned in. So. All right, so any other comments about next week or about the Baylor game?
I think you can do it.
All right, we're cheering for you.
That's still
with you. We're still with you, Sooners. Oh, okay.
Father, Papa didn't raise a fair weather fan.
Exactly. Well, Sooner bred, baby. We're with you all the way, Sooners. So. All right, let's talk about some of the big games that happened last week.
Yeah.
Let's start out. I know the big game was Tennessee versus Georgia, but the biggest game that actually turned out was that Alabama Saban Black Magic.
it failed on
it. It ran out, and LSU, Brian Kelly, the gambler, goes for 2
Yeah.
at home.
And I was playing a game, and Dad goes, Alabama lost. I'm like, what? It's a day of I'll just put it this way. Even when OU loses, it's a day of celebration when Alabama loses.
Yeah. And the LSU fans poured onto the field. Who can blame them after that?
As you do.
at that wild finish. And I think they got fined $250,000 by the SEC for their fans coming on the field. But
nice.
my hot take is, when you win a game like that in the fashion that they won it with a 2-point conversion against Black Magic,
warranted.
It's warranted. Let that one slide. So, what a game that was.
Yeah, I know. It was like, oh, they won?
Yeah. What a game that was. That was a fun one to watch. Now, what about Tennessee, Georgia? Kind of didn't live up to its billing.
That was kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
I guess some teams stay the same. Georgia's... Tennessee they were just not the better team.
Yeah.
Georgia was just a better team.
Georgia at home.
Georgia's had some cracks, but we can do.
I think when Georgia's fired up, you see the real Georgia, but when they're playing...
you'll see the dog bites.
Kent State or Missouri, they're like, whatever, roll the helmet out on the field. We're Georgia, we'll win it. We don't need to play hard. But they put it to Tennessee and had their number all day.
Poor Heupel.
Yeah, poor Heupel, but they're having a great season. They're going to get into a great bowl. They've already beaten Alabama. I know.
I know Tennessee fans are probably feeling bad after the Georgia loss, but hey, you beat Alabama.
Right.
Not a lot of teams do that.
I don't know the dynamic of the SEC just yet, since we're not there quite yet. I don't know if Georgia's on one side and Tennessee's on the other, so they might be able to meet again there in a neutral field in the SEC championship.
I thought it was going to be like more of a game.
Yeah.
Really. That was kind of disappointing part of it. I was like, oh man, it's going to be fun. And then they smoked Tennessee, and you're like, this is kind of dumb. Why did I hype myself up for this?
Now, here's the difference between a Georgia and where they're at and Oklahoma and where they're at. Georgia, in 9 games, has given up 9 touchdowns all season.
Damn.
Oklahoma gave up 7 touchdowns against Texas.
Yeah, don't know what it is with us.
We're not there yet. We're
not there yet.
We're not at Georgia's level, so we've got lots of work to do, and I don't know when we're getting there. So
we've always been good.
Yeah.
But we're not at that, like, 2000... well, I think we were really great there for a little while.
Right. But Georgia had to climb the mountain also. They didn't...
they didn't do that overnight.
They didn't fall off the wagon and end up on the top of the mountain. They had to climb their way up there, so... They've had to fight Alabama all the way up.
You don't build a dynasty in a day, as
right.
OU fans seem to not understand at the moment.
That's right.
But the whole Brent Venables, why? It's like, guys.
Right now, we're just at the bottom of the mountain, just kind of looking straight up, going, that's a long ways up there.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so...
But it's always with those big games. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be good. And then one of the teams gets smoked. And you're like, come on!
That stinks. But we did have the LSU-Alabama game that came through.
That did make up for it.
Yeah, that did make up. Now, OSU found out what it's like to play a team without their quarterback.
Ooh.
Losing to Kansas.
Talk about breaking the mighty, because OSU was actually looking like a contender this year.
They were.
Boy, how the mighty fall.
Yeah.
And it is not the year of backups, I'm telling you.
No, it has not been. And...
that gives me some hope, because we beat Kansas, and Kansas is actually pretty good this year.
Yeah,
and then OSU lost. I'm like, you know what? Maybe Bedlam won't be the shit show I'm fearing it'll be.
Now Kansas beat Texas last year. They beat Oklahoma State this year,
which is hilarious.
We didn't lose to them either year, so there's the big win of the season.
There's the bragging rights.
Yeah, that's the bragging rights for us right now.
Still lost to Kansas.
Yeah, so Kansas is bowl eligible for the first time, and I don't know when. It's at least a decade.
Since the Mangino era.
Probably so. But good for Kansas, and
I'm kind of glad for Kansas. There always that little train that could.
Yeah, and Kansas actually storms the field after every victory. So that was funny to see them storm the field.
That's warranted, man. They're so parched for wins.
Yeah. So good win by Kansas. I can't say I was disappointed in that one. Texas put it on KSU. It ended up being a 7-point game, but Texas had them down pretty much the whole game. So
I will say this for Texas. Texas was pretty dismal last year. Well, I wouldn't say that was new. I think we kind of broke their spirit last year after Red River, but gives me some hope that maybe we can make the bounce back next year. Since they're kind of on the bounce back because they were 4-7. I'm like, God, fire Sark now.
Right.
I'm usually not one who likes to call for people to get fired after the first year, but Sark has made some boneheaded decisions, if you ask me. And I know Texas fans are gonna be like, "You're just salty because you're a Sooner." And you guys are gay, and whatever. But I'm probably biased as an OU fan, but I've seen Sark, and I'm like, he's just making some dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Then again, all coaches do it, but he makes some Riley level of just bro, you could so easily win, and you keep screwing it up somehow. But he seems to be not bad.
They're having
a pretty good year.
They're having a decent season. Texas is a blue blood. They they fancy themselves a top tier team. I guess they're gonna lose 3 games at least this year.
They're the foil of us. They're a tenacious little group, but man, they got a fan base that'll talk some smack.
Yeah. They're gonna come out 9-3 this year. Maybe win a bowl game. So. For OU fans, that would be an absolute disaster. For Texas, that's a good season. So compared to what they've been doing in the past, but they got a win over over Kansas State, so big win there.
Personally, I thought, as I've said before, I thought Herman was a better coach than Sark is, but that's just he was consistent at least. But hey, Sark's not bad. He's leading them to a pretty good season. And I'm like, hey. Maybe OU could do the same now.
Yeah, I think we can.
It's Heupel at Tennessee was 7-6 last year, and look at him now.
Yeah. And then Notre Dame, sort of a big game, Notre Dame versus Clemson. I thought, Clemson would probably eke that game out. No, Notre Dame put the whooping on them and killed them. Beat them by double digits.
They awoke the the angry Irish monster.
Oh, yeah.
And Clemson effed around and found out, as the saying goes.
Yeah, they did. So, looks like that Notre Dame coach, the new coach, first-year coach out there, is turning it around. I guess Notre Dame
got tired of... they got really mad and laid the whoop-ass on them.
Yeah, so...
I saw it was like 14-0. I'm like, really? Like, I was not expecting anything from Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame's been struggling this year.
Yeah. That Clemson quarterback just doesn't have it. I think it's time to change gears and go to the new quarterback. He just does not have it this year. He played great as a freshman filling in for Trevor Lawrence, but he is not the answer out there in Clemsonville. I'm sure our old Bubby Sweeney is...
Probably missing. He's probably missing Brent Venables right now.
He's missing Venables, and he's also missing a good quarterback. And then, last but not least... Liberty beats the Hogs of Arkansas. How does this happen?
Hold on, let me just... I'm looking up if they're like a... Because I don't know why they're playing a team that's not in the SEC.
Well,
this part of the season.
The SEC always plays a milquetoast game in the middle of the year.
That's weird.
And I don't know why they do that. I think because they want to have the TV audience at the first of the year, so they play some of their conference games a little earlier than the rest of the leagues, but... How does Liberty beat the University of Arkansas?
Poor Arkansas. They're always so close to being great, and they just kind of...
They had that great season last year, but I thought, oh my gosh, Arkansas is on the way back. They're going to be somebody, and no, they're not.
They're still struggling.
Yeah, as Granny likes to say, maybe next year. Poor guys. I hate it for them. I always root for them. One thing that I am happy about is Hazelwood, that traitor that went to Arkansas, ditched us when Riley left. He gets to suffer through losing to Liberty. So, there you go, Jaden, or whatever your name was. You get to suffer through losing to Liberty. So,
and the thing is, Arkansas didn't... I don't think you could say Arkansas, they lost to a no-name team. I will say right now, I went to an Arkansas game a few years ago because my cousin was a cheerleader over there. And they played like a South Dakota State or something like that. Wasn't that it?
Mm-hmm.
It was 13-20 in Arkansas, and this wasn't even that good of a team. Arkansas is playing a lot better. Again, maybe I'm just being optimistic there, but I think... Arkansas makes it hard on themselves. Yeah. I don't know why. They're just very unlucky.
Yeah, they can't get over the hump at all. And that head coach of theirs, Sam Pittman, boy, he was a star last year. He had that saying, is turn on that jukebox. I think they throw the jukebox out the window. I think that's out the house now.
You think he's going to get fired?
I don't know. He had such a good season. I mean, they were terrible the years before he came. So
I was about to say, he's probably the best coach they've had in years.
Yeah,
so I don't think they'd kick him out.
They're probably going to keep him a couple more years and see what he's made of. So, yeah, horrible loss for Arkansas. That one's tough to take. That's like OU losing to, Kent State or somebody like that. That one's hard for your fan base to take there. Time for basketball season in Arkansas. All right. Well, next week's games, I didn't see any that are really top billing games. Obviously, our game, Oklahoma versus West Virginia, we'll be watching that one. But I guess the big game, throughout the country is probably that Texas versus TCU game.
Probably.
What do you think's going to happen there?
Either TCU's going to completely expose Texas and smoke them,
right?
Or it's actually going to be a game. Could go either way.
I think it's at Texas.
Okay, well, you know how Texas is. They're gonna talk mad shit to TCU.
Well, TCU is the little brother of Texas, so I know they'd love to go up there and beat them in their own house. So,
and TCU is not terrible at all. They're actually legit.
And you remember who coaches defense for Texas now, right? You remember that guy's name?
Patterson.
Gary Patterson.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if he's going to have some tricks up his sleeve. I know he's coached against Sonny Dykes several years in the Big 12. So
I bet he's so salty. He's like, man, how come this happened?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Texas TCU. That might be, I don't know where game day's going. That might be there, or maybe one of those weeks where game day goes to some
No name team.
Small school like the Navy or something like that. Another big game within the Big 12, K-State versus Baylor. K-State took it on the chin. They lose to Baylor, they're going to be out of the Big 12 hunt. It could be Baylor or Texas in the Big 12 championship against TCU. So I know K-State's got a lot to play for. What do you think is going to happen? K-State versus Baylor.
Either K-State's going to make the bounce back, or because K-State's talented. They got Martinez. That man's scrappy.
Yeah.
And Baylor is also scrappy. We'll see, I guess. I'm pulling for K-State. Maybe it's just
K-State? Okay.
Maybe just because I'm kind of still fresh, salty from the loss. But I don't know. I have a feeling.
I'm gonna go with K-State also.
Okay.
I'm gonna go against Baylor myself. So we'll see how that goes.
We're gonna go against that bald, robotic coach of theirs. Poor guy.
The professor, the little professor, the bald-headed little professor. So, and then I don't know if this is a big game or not, but Arkansas versus LSU for the Boat Trophy.
Oh boy! Either
can they bounce back versus a loss off Liberty? Maybe they were looking forward to Baylor or to LSU.
We'll see, because Arkansas has played some good games this year.
Yeah. I don't know what their story is. I don't know if their quarterback's hurt. I really haven't watched any of their games.
Jefferson's actually good.
Yeah, he is good. So
I'll
be rooting for Arkansas on that one.
But yeah, it's going to be tough to beat LSU. They're coming off the high of the win against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a tough game to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that one's at. Hopefully it's in Arkansas. I'm not real sure where it's at, but if it's at LSU, I don't like their odds. So, a little NFL action last week. Is there any games that stood out to you? The Cowboys were off. Did you have any games that stood out? I saw the Buccaneers finally got on the winning side again and beat the Rams.
Rams are pitiful this year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was like 2020 Bucks where they had that fluke great year, and now they're just back in the, Again, I think Tom Brady should have just stayed retired, but, it's probably me just being a salty NFL fan.
Right.
Packers lost to the Lions.
Packers.
My buddy Josh would be thrilled because he loves the Lions, which I'm really sorry because the Lions are like the Browns, man.
I was going to say, that's bad. He must be in a deep depression being a Lions fan. My
yeah,
God.
I know. I was complaining about the Cowboys. He's like, I have no sympathy for you. You don't know pain.
And the Chiefs had a big win against the Titans, and what a good game.
Oh, wow, they won. I saw they were losing. I'm like, what is going on here? I literally I put it up on Facebook. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to embrace the chaos. Buffalo lost to Buffalo.
Buffalo lost to the Jets.
The Jets aren't bad this year.
Right.
They're on the bounce back, but still, Buffalo losing to the Jets. I think these guys are going to win the Super Bowl, but what was that?
I'm not sure, and Britt, this is a good lesson for both of us. This is why we don't gamble on NFL football.
That's why we don't gamble. Yeah. No.
One high note for former OU players: Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns in one game as the Bengals beat the Panthers 42-21.
Oh yeah, the Bengals bounced back. They've been kind of again another team that I thought would be better than they are right now.
Yeah.
Inconsistent.
Little up and down.
Again, I was shocked they got into the NFL. They got shocked that they were in the Super Bowl last year. So
And then I heard that our old friend Sam Ellinger from Texas started against the Patriots for the Colts.
Didn't do too badly. Except the rest of the team was bad.
He got sacked 9 times. I bet he's got a few bruises on him this week. So
that sucks too. I have a soft spot for the Colts. Peyton Manning was one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up. So I've always had a soft spot for the Colts.
Yeah. So, but I'm sure he's got a few bruises after that beating he took. So, I don't know if there's any big games this week in the NFL. Buccaneers versus Seahawks. Seahawks kind of a surprise team. I thought they were going to get washed out this year because they lost Russell Wilson. But they've actually have a winning record this year, so that would probably
Pete
be
Carroll
a good game.
realized after last year, I somehow managed to keep my job.
Yeah.
I'll try and do better so they won't fire me. Because I really thought he was going to get fired last year.
and the Cowboys, they've got a good chance to get another big win against Green Bay, who's just totally struggling.
Pitiful. I watch a guy called Tom Grossi. He's a big Packers fan. So he's just been sick with this with this Packers team.
Yeah. So that will be a good game to watch.
I commented on one of his videos. I'm like, oh, your good team's struggling too, huh? I know the pain.
Uh-huh.
Well, luckily we've managed to bounce back while the Packers are just considerably getting worse.
Yeah. And then Monday Night Football. This is a real stinker. The Eagles with big game hurt versus the Washington Redskins / Commanders
/ football team.
Oh my gosh. That doesn't sound too good.
Is hurt? Wait, did he get hurt?
No, he's not hurt.
You just said his name.
Yeah, he's just
hurt.
It was just Hurts. That's his name.
Oh.
Hurts. Yeah, Hurts.
Yeah, no. Like, did he get hurt? No, but Eagles.
Yeah.
Shocked. That's another one. Like, who was another team that really? Jets have surprised me. The Giants have surprised. Again, like Mike said, football's an incredibly fickle mistress.
Oh yes.
That's what makes it fun, but that's also what makes it terrifying.
Exactly right.
But teams you expect are going to be good suck, and then sometimes teams you expect to suck actually get pretty good.
Yeah,
So
the NFL is hard to predict. They're all pros, so
football in general is hard to predict.
That's true. That's true. It's hard to even predict the high school games.
No, but
So not a big weekend for football, I don't think. I mean, we're going to still have fun with our game, and hopefully there'll be a couple of good games, some surprises. But it might be a weekend to catch a couple of naps, being that there's no big games this week. It might be a weekend to catch up on our sleep.
Might be a game of meh, or a week of
meh. Yeah.
The Eagles played the Texans and struggled against the Texans. Right. One of the biggest tankers in the NFL right now.
Right.
They won, but like what?
Like I said, they're all professional teams, so you never know. You never know. But they did pull the victory out, and they kept their undefeated season going. What are they? 8-9-0 now?
They actually played a game against Detroit. So I feel bad for Detroit. That coach over there actually seems like a cool guy. Like he seems like he really wants to really get this program back on track, but it's gonna be an uphill battle. Like that whole situation, the family who owns it is incompetent. Oh, it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the Chiefs actually won because I'm like, they're losing to the Titans, a struggling Titans.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on? Again, embrace the chaos. That's all I can say. This season has just, as they say, subverted my expectations.
Well, you got
every week.
You got the Eagles at 8-0, and you got the Vikings a surprising 7-1 this year.
Oh my gosh, Vikings are the Purple People Eaters are back in business.
And then you got the Buccaneers leading their division at 4-5. So a lot
Tom Brady at 4-5.
Oh, I know. He might want to rethink retirement. And then the same old names in the AFC. You got the Bills leading their division only by one game over the Jets and the Dolphins. The Chiefs leading, the Ravens leading, and the Titans leading. So the AFC's kind of chalk of what we probably thought was going to happen. But the Eagles in leading their conference, Seahawks leading the conference over the Niners and the Rams. That's a surprise.
I'm curious who the Eagles will lose to.
That's a good question. I would say I'm going to predict it might be the Cowboys.
Cowboys or Bills?
I don't know if they play the Bills this year.
Oh, they don't play the Bills?
Maybe in the Super Bowl.
I don't know. Well, we'll see.
I don't know. But fun week of football this week, other than we lost. Hopefully.
Not terrible.
Hopefully we can get bowl eligible coming up next week.
I'm like, please. Yeah. Can you do that?
We just need a little help. So.
The Panthers. Panthers are just shit show.
Yeah, it's. Just,
I was just like, when they got rid of McCaffrey, I like I said last week, I texted my friend Joey. I'm like, are they dense? They got rid of their best player. And he was all like, I think they're just trying to go for the tank because of the first round pick. Apparently, the worst teams, I guess they purposely play bad to get the first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you give away McCaffrey, you are definitely giving up on the season.
The only guy who's like the only like decent player on that team. And then he goes to the 49ers. He's just baller over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had a great game. He had 3 touchdowns the other day. So, yeah, he's going to fit in well with the 49ers. So that could help
49ers are just fine.
Yeah, they're in the middle. I think they've had some injuries, and I have a feeling they're going to be in the playoffs and may make some noise there. So, any other comments before we close this one out, Brett?
Not much.
How about this? Boomer!
I was about to say, sooner.
All right. We'll see you next week.
All right. Well, see you next week on another episode of Days of Our Sooners. See you guys next week.
All right. Bye.